you're bringing in the number 2 overall draft pick. You're going to get the most talented guy that you think can elevate your team into relevance. Pop, what's going on, man?
Son, how you doing?
I'm a little sore from my visit to Top Golf earlier this week, but I'm pretty good. I'm hanging in. I heard it was an open invite situation at the Top Golf. They were just letting anybody in there.
I know. I had all the podcasters there, you know. I was expecting a special invitation just for us, and, you know, we had to be with all those other prospects and stuff.
I thought I was going to get a one-on-one lesson with Dan Quinn. He might kind of, reposition my hips a little bit, put my hands where they need to go. But no, I had to just sit there and hit balls next to Bo Nix. Couldn't believe it.
Unbelievable. Disrespectful.
Anyways, here we are. If you guys probably have some kind of an idea what we're talking about by now, but big news this week is the Top Golf controversy, the QB visits, all that good stuff, and what to make of it. Schefter has found a way to keep himself at the center of it as always, and it's happening, man. It's going down. So we got some Schefter reports. We got Top Golf controversy. Pop, real quick, out of all the quarterback candidates, whose driver you think carries the furthest? Out of all the guys,
apparently he can ball.
Drake Maye
can ball. Yeah,
I could see it. Southern boy,
yeah.
6'4". Probably got a little bit of that Scotty Scheffler action. Yeah. I feel like JJ McCarthy might be dangerous around the greens, though. I feel like JJ McCarthy could put some spin on that ball. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't think it matters.
I think Bo Nix is a terrible putter. I'm just going to put that out there. But let's get into it here. Basically, the Commanders went a little unconventional on the quarterback visits this week, and that sparked some comments, some controversies. Tweets were liked, emojis were used. Kind of a mess right now. And there's been some reports that Jayden Daniels, the favorite, was not particularly thrilled with how this process went. So that was kind of a situation there. So, Pop, what do you make of all this? What do you make of all this mess right now?
I think it's a big nothing, honestly. I mean, not to say there isn't something to – apparently I saw some clips. I mean, Jayden's not a golfer, but, I mean, if you know – and Adam Peters broke it down in his presser, which we'll get into a little bit more later in terms of anything that we don't cover through discussing this. You know, they took all the prospects out. It was the 4 quarterbacks – including Penix and JJ and Drake Maye, to Top Golf in the evening. But then the next day, they did have one-on-one time. You know, they just rotated them around on one-on-one time with the coaches and the different people in the building. So I think it had more to do with just, scheduling. AP's a process-oriented guy. It was one more checkbox to the process, but I think they know who their quarterback is. It was probably just, hey, do we see something that just totally tilts us one way or another? And I really doubt that happened. And I think some of the reporting, to me, you heard the reporting from Schefter and others that Daniels was upset. His stupid agent throws an emoji out there, but then maybe he's not stupid. He's just defending his guy. But then, I've heard reporting today, this being Saturday, that the Commanders and Daniels have already kind of checked in with one another, smoothed things over. So I think it's a lot to do about nothing. It's just so guys like us, plus much more well-paid reporters out there can get clicks. Right. And I think that's what it's about more than anything else. I think they're making a big deal about nothing. Of course, when the agent throws a response out there, and then apparently Daniel's PR agency's already come out, called it fake news and all this other stuff. So I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I don't think it has any impact on which way we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I agree. I think it's kind of just a mess. the whole like Top Golf thing is just so weird and unnecessary and
Yeah, no, you didn't like it too much.
dumb to me. I just don't
Yeah.
I just don't. It feels a little green, a little naive, in my opinion. It's just, I mean, you can't. You're going to stick all four quarterback prospects in a space together to go play Top Golf, and you're going to expect that some drama doesn't come out of that. Come on, like it's just bound to
Yeah.
happen. You can say you have the best intentions. At best case, it's naive, and in worst case, it's just flat out stupid because you're pulling that like old school, like let's make the guys uncomfortable and see who can respond to controversy, and you're just doing it in a stupid way, in my opinion. And I think that's all nonsense. You're bringing in the number 2 overall draft pick. You're going to get the most talented guy that you think can elevate your team into relevance. It's what it is. This is a largely irrelevant franchise of the last 30 years, clinging on to history that half of its fan base is not old enough to remember, unfortunately. It's just the reality. So you're trying to bring relevance to this team with this draft pick. Miss me with the he's got to compete and he's got to be a dog BS. They're all dogs. They're all competitors if they're going this high in the draft. And he's not going to have to compete for squat. If you make the right pick, he should never have to compete for his job in the 20 years that he plays in DC. I don't want to hear any of that. I think that's nonsense. He should be, to a degree, coddled. Mahomes didn't compete for that job. Josh Allen didn't compete for that job. Like the top guys in the league were not there because they were competing for those jobs. Top guys in the league were picked there to be the future of that team. Team was built around them. I think that whole thing is crap. I have no interest in that.
You know, we said we're going to stay on time with this segment this time around, so I don't.
I'm ready to blow past this.
I don't want to think we get in a long, deep debate about it. I look at it a little bit differently, and maybe they overthought it. Maybe it wasn't the greatest move, but they looked at it as their 4 quarterback prospects that we want to get in the building just to do our due diligence, just to do that one last check, and to do 4 separate visits would have been difficult. And then to separate maybe Jayden from the other 3 would have tipped your hand, just as an example. So I think maybe they would do it differently in hindsight. I don't have a big problem with it. I don't think it was, you and I kind of disagree with this. I think it was about competition. I think it was about putting them in a social setting just because Jayden Daniels can't play golf and presumably Drake Maye is a really good golfer. It's not a competition. I mean, that they're not even going to have a competition because Daniels is going to be shanking the ball and Maye is going to be blasting out there. It means nothing to how you could play quarterback in the league. What you might get out of it is that social setting, and also, how do you react in a team setting, right? Do you need that special treatment, or are you a team guy? So maybe they were trying to glean a little bit out of that. They probably got a lot more out of the one-on-one meetings the next day. We'll see where it goes. It's interesting. They're not tipping their hand. I don't know why it's so important to them, which I think is one of the reasons they did this group thing, is they don't seem to want to tip their hand at all as to who they're picking. But, with Chicago on the clock, pretty much locked in on Caleb Williams, I don't know why we couldn't just say we're favoring this guy or let reports get out there. Maybe they just want to see if somebody gets stupid with a crazy trade still, and keep driving that price up. I don't know. But I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I think the one last question I'd ask you related to this topic, though, are you buying the fact that Jayden Daniels would prefer not to come to the Commanders? Are you buying that overall vibe, which was built in before the Top Golf incident?
I don't care, to be honest with you. Maybe I don't care what the vibe is there, and let's put ourselves in Jayden Daniels' shoes. He's played for a guy in Antonio Pierce before. They obviously have a close relationship, the two of them. Of course, if you're Jayden Daniels, you'd rather go to the Raiders. Come on, let's make some sense of this. Of course, you'd rather the Raiders get stupid selfishly and trade up, and you get to go throw the ball to Devontae Adams and play for your old coach. You know why I don't care? Because he doesn't get the choice. And ultimately, if he wants to have a career, and I believe Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and the guys in charge of this thing, and Lance Newmark and those guys, I believe they're not going to pick Jayden Daniels if they think he's going to come here and not give it 110% because he doesn't want to be in Washington. I don't think that'll ever be an issue. So
I agree.
If his name is on that ballot on Thursday night or envelope or whatever's in the envelope, I don't know if it's ballot, but if his name is there, we're drafting him because we think he's going to be a dog here. He's going to do his thing, and he's going to want to be great regardless of where he is. And that's what I think is the situation there. You look at a guy transferred around, has played at the highest level, won the Heisman, dominated the SEC last year. I think this guy is going to be a stud no matter where he goes. And I think ultimately, if he's good in Washington, he's going to have the keys to the city. So I think
these guys are competitors, right? To build off what you just said about keys to the city. One, as a competitor, you want to be the next pick off the board. You want to be the number one pick in the draft. So why wouldn't you want to be number two? Why wouldn't you want a team to say, we think you're better than the other prospects there? So that's one reason I don't completely buy it. And, secondly, I have full confidence that regardless of maybe him not loving the process about it, regardless of maybe him thinking AP wasn't that high on him at one point and is now, they're going to put a big bear hug around him if he's the pick, right? If he's the pick, they're going to put a big hair on him. They're going to pat him on the back. They're going to tell him, you were our guy all along. Hope you understand. We just had to go through this process. It's a bigger bag of money being number 2 versus being number 3 or 4 or 5. So for all those reasons, and Schefter's already reporting today that he's fine with coming to the Commanders and being a Commander.
Yeah, of course
he realizes he doesn't have a choice in the matter. So I think it would all work out great if that ends up being the pick. But yeah, crazy to watch. It's like, I don't know. I mean, Dan's gone, but we can't seem to get through any of these kind of situations smoothly. If you think of the head coaching search and the back and forth and controversy and reporting that went around that, and now you look at this, quarterback situation, it's just wild with this team. It just, maybe it's the press, maybe it's a hangover effect for the, as like Florio likes to say, this dysfunctional organization jerk. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. I'm ready to breeze past the Daniels thing. A quick look into the Adam Peters presser here. I think before we get on to our mock draft, guys, that's right. We are doing a mock draft. It's coming right now, pretty much. We're going to do a quick little touch on Adam Peters. Just 5 quick takeaways here as we're aggregated by Zach Selby, senior writer over at Commanders.com, I guess. Hopefully we credited you. Hopefully we got your title right.
Yeah, it's Commanders.com. You got it right.
But so number 1, they're staying at number 2. I know, Pop, you alluded to maybe are they going crazy and they're trying to see if that crazy offer is coming out. Adam Peters pretty much directly said, aside from the number 2 overall pick, we're open to action, but we're staying there. He literally directly said that in his presser. So that's happening. Let's take that off the table. I think you and I are both in favor of that. We don't need to spend a ton of time on that.
Totally.
Obviously, they understand the significance of how many picks they have in the top 100 with this whole trying to build through the draft ideals. And you saw kind of a lot of one-year deals, a lot of salary cap space for next year being created through free agency this year. You saw that mindset kind of get backed up by the way that they're moving in a lot of the signings they're making. So they're going to try and build there. They learned a lot from bringing these prospects together. Of course, we talked about that previously. How much do we make of that? All that kind of stuff. But that is a big takeaway. Apparently, they are looking for how these guys work as a unit, how they interact with each other, and they're looking for leadership as well, which is the number one thing that you hear this group continuously echo is leadership, leadership, leadership. Who's going to be a leader, right? And the number 5 takeaway is they appreciate the pressure, which I think is interesting here, and I think is I'm just going to kick that one over to you, Pop. Peters said that's what we signed up for, is the big quote on that one. So what do you make of all that, of all the Adam Peters presser and the takeaways? I mean, you can't get a ton of info this time of the year from a general manager presser, but where are you at with that?
Yeah, I think he was straightforward with the number 2 pick in the draft, and I think they've been pretty straightforward and not really throwing a lot of curveballs in the sense that it's going to be a quarterback. I think they've
Yeah,
all but tipped their hand there, and that's cool. I mean, why try to trick people with the obvious? It was also interesting to me that it was Adam Peters and Lance Newmark who they got over from the Detroit Lions as assistant GM, and he seems like an impressive guy, and they seem to have a really strong connection. So to see that second in command along with Adam Peters, both of them had great success in GM roles or assistant GM role type roles or scouting roles in the past. He was impressive to me too. They both talked about how they really liked the group setting and Top Golf. So I thought they gave some good explanations as to why they went that direction, which you touched on already. And yeah, they're grinders, man. I mean, Adam Peters says he hasn't seen his family since he had the opening presser. His wife has moved his family over. So just seeing the amount of hours and dedication and focus, he says he goes to the facility early in the morning and he goes until he falls asleep pretty much and then just goes to bed. I think he's living out of a hotel right now. So he's grinding and working hard. And, um, just seems like a class act all the way around. And not everything's going to be perfect. Maybe this group thing wasn't perfect, but I got a lot of faith in these guys overall in getting those 9 picks right.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I agree.
But I think we need to. I think we need to do a little mock drafting.
I was gonna say, let's get into some picks.
Let's get rolling here.
Let's get into some picks. So we're gonna do. We do the top 10 every year. We're gonna do the top 10 again this year. This year's a little different. We're not gonna alternate picks because there's some trades on the table. There's some interesting stuff. So we're going to kick down the top 10 here. We're going to go back and forth 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, but we will have our own draft boards here. So, Pop, let's get this thing started. Guys, welcome to the Dom and Pop official 2024 mock draft. Pop,
Woo!
kick this thing off, man. Number 1 overall, Chicago. You're on the clock.
All right, I'm first. So I go first, you go second. That's how we're doing this?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's obvious. I'm not going to try to get funny here. Caleb Williams is going to the Bears. All but done.
No two ways about that. I have the same thing there. Caleb Williams, the chosen one, number 1 overall to the Chicago Bears. Number two might be a team you're familiar with, ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Commanders.
Woo, I want you to go first on this one.
I don't know who pays attention to those guys anymore. I'm taking Jayden Daniels. Number 2 overall. I think this is all noise. I think it's pretty clear what this team wants to do, in my opinion. I'm going Jayden Daniels. What do you got at 2, Pop?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think all the back and forth, but I thought there was a clue in the reporting today from Schefter when he said the Commanders talked to Jayden Daniels and smoothed everything over. Why would they feel the need to even do that if he wasn't the pick?
Exactly.
And I think that Schefter doesn't miss much. Guys like JP, Finley don't miss much, and they're sticking with Daniels, and I'm going to stick with Daniels. Although I got a question I want to ask you after we get through our mock that might throw a little curveball into this.
I got you.
And I hope it's Jayden. I have to admit, I've reached a point where I'd be a little disappointed. I know I've said I'm going to roll with whoever they go, and that's still true. But I got to admit, I'd be a little disappointed if it's not JD at this point.
I just want them to take whoever they wanted to take before they brought everybody to Topgolf. That's what
fair.
I don't want that stupid little interaction to impact who they think is the most talented player. Number 3, I got Drake Maye to the New England Patriots. I think this is a great fit for him as well.
Yeah, it's interesting here. It's going to either be Drake or JJ, right? And or unless they trade back to somebody like the Vikings, which I'm not going to predict will happen here. But I'm going Drake as well. I just think at the end of the day, we talked about it, being consistent with what we talked about and ranking the top prospects. I think he's just got, that upside. And, they've got Jacoby Brissett that if he does need to sit for a while, they got a pretty good bridge guy there that's got some previous ties to the Patriots. So I'm going Drake as well.
Yep. At number 4, we got an interesting one here. Number 4, we're going to go for Minnesota trading with Arizona. Arizona's going to trade out, and Minnesota's going to go ahead and take J.J. McCarthy at number 4 overall. They're going to go ahead and lock up their quarterback. They're going to get Kirk Cousins with the rocket arm. That's what I think happens there. What do you got at 4, Pop?
At 4, I just don't think the Cardinals are going to want to pass up on that wide receiver prospect. And now they're going to, the debate is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Again, Marvin Harrison was always the favorite for a long time. Malik is he didn't do any workouts, which was kind of interesting choice on his part. But I'm still going to stick with Marvin Harrison Jr. being that star wide receiver in Arizona.
There it is.
They lock him up.
There it is. Yeah, I think that's a smart pick too. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. actually going number 5 to the LA Chargers here. I think a lot of people think this might be a Joe Alt pick. I think a lot of people think this might be where J.J. McCarthy gets drafted in the trade. But I think if you're sitting there at number 5 and you're the Chargers, I mean, you just lost Keenan Allen. Mike Williams can't stay healthy / might be a free agent. I'm not sure. You got to get a wide receiver to get with Herbert there. So I think in most drafts you'd go left tackle here, but you've got the opportunity to go ahead and get Marvin Harrison Jr. You take that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm flipping with you. I think this is where the Chargers trade back with the Vikings, pick up their 2 first-round draft picks later in the draft. That also includes a number 11 pick. And I think the Vikings trade up. They seem really in the game to do that, so they're going to entice somebody there to do it. I think the Chargers are the more likely. It is tempting for them to go wide receiver, even if it's Malik Neighbors that's left, in my draft. Very, very tempting there, but I'm going to stick with the trade prediction there. And so the Vikings move up to number 5 and pick J.J. McCarthy.
Yep. Yeah, I think so as well. And that leaves number 6 with Malik Neighbors for me to the New York Football Giants. I think they need
help at wide
receiver. It's a disaster there. He is so good at football. Yeah, that's going to hurt, isn't it?
That's going to hurt. I'm with you. I've got the exact same pick there, Malik Neighbors to the Giants.
Yeah.
The boys are vibing today.
Boys are locked in, man. There is a world where it's not a world I want to live in, but there is a world where Marvin Harrison Jr. is there at number 6.
Yeah. And, if those picks are flipped, that could absolutely happen.
And Dayball is there on stage with the shirt off.
But you can't be disappointed with either one of those guys.
No, I mean, there's legitimate discourse about who's the better wide receiver between the two, which I personally think is prospect fatigue when it comes to
I agree with you,
Harrison Jr., but that's what's there. That's what's there right now.
It's prospect fatigue, and it's a little bit of the, how he handled the draft process, right? Some people don't like that.
I could care less.
Yeah.
I could care less. I'm as new school here. That's my job. My job is to be the young, new school, player first guy here. So, number 7, that brings us to the Tennessee Titans. I got Joe Alt there. I think that's the obvious pick. I think you would love, if you're Tennessee, you would love to have Malik Neighbors on the board there and have to make the pick between Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors, but I do think it is Joe Alt at number 7 there for Tennessee. They've been struggling to find that ever since Taylor Lewan couldn't stay healthy and kind of fell off towards the end of his career there. They've been struggling to find that landmark left tackle. You've got what you think is your franchise quarterback in Will Levis. Make that pairing. They've added Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. They've added some depth there. Go ahead, make that pairing. Build the offense. I think Joe Alt is the move there.
How good is my son at this, breaking down the weapons that the Titans have? Love that.
I'm hanging in.
I'm with you. I think at this point, Joe Alt's still on the board at number 7. Arguably, probably a top 3 talent in this draft. You can't pass him up at that point. If he drops in your lap as the Titans, you just say thank you very much. I'm moving forward, and I'm swiping Joe Alt off the board. He could be a generational type player at that position. So just a monster with his height and his athletic ability. I wish we could get him. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. He is a just freak of nature type offensive tackle, and that leaves us with the Atlanta Falcons at number 8. Now there is some talk about Atlanta trading out of this pick. I don't see it happening because I think Rome Oduns is the pick there. Odunze Oduns. I don't know how to say his name. I've heard it a million times. I just still don't know how to say it. I think they added wide receiver. They've got Kirk there. They've been adding skill positions year after year after year. You finally got, yeah, like I said, you've got Kirk Cousins there. You've got a facilitator. I think they try to just overpower that offense so they can just fly up and down the field. And I think Romo Duns is the pick there.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I mean, you got wide receivers flying off the board over there, but I'm going to go Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. He's a guy that's pretty high. Again, if you look at just pure ranking of talent, similar to a Joe Alt, and I think he's going to be too good to pass up at that point, especially with the top 2 wide receivers off the board. I'm going to say Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama for the Atlanta Falcons.
I think that's probably the chalk pick there. That's a good pick. I just don't think. I mean, you've got Kyle Pitts, you've got Bijan, you've got what's his name, Drake London, who you still don't exactly know what you have in Drake London.
Well, you could be
you don't have anything proven at wide receiver.
But you went wide receiver early in the draft in recent history, so maybe it's not wanting to do that again. Who knows? I mean, I don't know how to say his name either, but Duns is a stud by all accounts. So he'd be a great pick. I mean, his size, his speed, he's kind of unique in that respect in terms of his ability. I think he'd be another guy I would love to have. But I think he'd be a great pick. That's why I have him going next to Chicago Bears. So I have the Bears picking up not only their stud QB, but matching them up with some additional wide receiver help with Rome. I'm just going to call him Rome.
I have a feeling it's not going to be much longer. We're having trouble pronouncing his name there.
By all accounts.
We'll all know how to pronounce his name pretty soon. And I think especially if he lands in Chicago there with Caleb Williams. Although it is a little interesting. They do have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. They're pretty stocked up at wide receiver over there. But maybe they go to get the young guy because they figure there's only a few years left in Keenan Allen's tank. But I think every time you think Keenan Allen's about ready to go off the cliff, he puts up another 1,500-yard season and ruins your fantasy football league. So I'm not ready to bet on that anytime soon. But at number 9 for Chicago, for me, I've got Jared Verse, edge rusher out of Florida State. Pair him up with Montez Sweat, start to bolster up that defense, cause some trouble.
Yeah, it seems to be a popular pick for them to go edge. Some people have them going Dallas Turner, which was my pick. Jared Verse is interesting. He's kind of lower on some mock draft boards, so we'll see.
Yeah, I got him there. I like him there, and
okay,
I think it's a good fit. But then you got Brock Bowers for me at number 10 with the New York Jets. I think again, stud defense over there, stud tight end. I think they're going to try with. You already have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. I think you're going to try and add a dynamic tight end to that offense. You have Breece Hall, who's obviously a great running back. You're going to try and add a dynamic tight end to that offense to essentially just take it over the top because you made this Aaron Rodgers play and you kind of have no choice but to put all your eggs in that basket at this point. Is this what's best for moving the franchise forward? I don't know. But you got to put all the eggs in that basket and hope you can go get a Super Bowl in the next 1 or 2 years before Aaron Rodgers goes and locks himself in a dark room somewhere. So I'm taking Brock Bowers here. What do you got?
I like that pick a lot, but I'm going to go with the second wide receiver off the board from LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. Absolute, talk about big receiver, 6'4", had an impressive, pro day, and I think he's a first round pick. Maybe that's a little bit high for him, but I think that the Jets are in the market for a wide receiver, and I think they're gonna. I like your pick a lot. That makes a lot of sense too, but I'll go Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jets.
That is high, but I like it. All right, so Pop, that's our top 10. Guys, let
Yeah.
us know what you think in the comments. Let us know how dumb we are. I think our hit rate is usually like 3 out of the top 10. I think everybody usually gets it wrong. I tried to go a little wackier this year to account for that. And I almost accidentally drafted Joe Alt to the New York Giants, even though they have Andrew Thomas there. That's the one position that they have. So I had to kind of redo some stuff on the fly. But
we'll recount it on our Thursday night pod when we're reacting to that first round of the draft. We'll treat it as a little bit of a bot of bet, see how many we each got right. Even though we had a lot of common picks. But I think the next interesting thing though is a lot of the who's going that next quarterback off the board, who's it going to be and where they're going to go. The popular sentiment seems to be Michael Penix Jr. to the Raiders, which I think would be a great pick for them. 4 quarterbacks, 5 quarterbacks in the top 13. That's pretty wild. Or is that 4? That's 5.
That would be 5.
That's 5. We had 4 in our camp. That's what threw me off. But yeah. So
we had 4 in our camp because there's no point in even saying anything to Caleb Williams, who, for those of you who wanted to make the whole Jayden Daniels, does he want to come to Washington? Remember the whole Caleb Williams won't go to Chicago reports? Remember all that? They're already casting the bronze statues for the guy.
Although I do think you should make that the thumbnail because it pulls in all the Chicago fans.
We'll have a post. We'll have a post pod discussion about that. But yeah. So Pop, you had a question for me after we.
I got a quick one for you. With all of this, and I think we've already kind of answered it. But what the heck? I'm just kind of get into your feels a little bit. What if all this reporting is right? I'm comparing this to the coaching search, right? It was it Brian Johnson? I kind of forgot the dude's name already, which was the Detroit coach that we wanted. And
Brian Johnson is on our team. That's the guy from the Eagles, the offensive coordinator. He's our
Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson.
How could you forget Johnson, man?
All the reports were about Ben Johnson. But then, Dan Quinn's out there, name was out there early. And everybody, including myself, I said I was going to jump off a tall building. It was like, Dan Quinn. Well, we've had a similar dynamic.
Yep.
With the J.J. McCarthy reports happening kind of early about how much they liked him. And then, all this stuff is swirling around. What if we're sitting there on draft night? We got our popcorn out, beer, whatever, soda. And J.J. McCarthy is that second pick. How would you feel about that?
Smiles, man. I like JJ. I think JJ's got a lot of talent. I am not against that pick. I don't.
It would be entertaining to watch the reaction on Twitter.
Well, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. I think the only thing that I would dread would just be having to deal with the people online. But I mean, look,
I have to admit, I wouldn't be too happy about it. But if you draw the parallels, not to be like conspiracy theory, but if you draw the parallels, it's interesting. Not calling it. I already made my prediction. Sticking with Jayden, but
it is interesting. So another thing to just kind of keep an eye out for, I was discussing with another one of my buddies via the one of my friends works in the NFL, where we're talking about, okay, what is it going to take to get the Commanders back into that first round? Where's the draft value at? And we start looking on the draft value chart and we say, hold on a second. We're right around 14, 15. I think we could get back in there for 36 and 40. Me and Pop have talked about that. The draft value kind of lines up.
I'd love to see that happen.
Who's going at number 14 to New Orleans right now, theoretically, per the CBS mock draft, but you think will be there, of Olu Fashanu?
I called that on the last pod.
Maybe we go get
my bold prediction.
Pop did call it on the last pod. I think, honestly, I'm kind of looking for a list here. I made a quick list of it, but I think out of Olufuaga, Latham, and Fatanu, I think there will be at least 2 there in that 14-15 range. So we got to see, do the Saints want to dance? Do the Colts want to dance? Who picks after them? Do the Seahawks maybe want to dance? We've already built a rapport with the Seahawks. Hey, I know you guys love Sam Howell. We gave him for you to the cheap. How about number 16? already kind of worked that situation out. We could figure that out. I think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree.
All right, Pop wanted to do a little NBA playoff picks here to wrap the episode up. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to come out and say, man, I have not watched much NBA basketball this year. So I'm not going to.
That's tradition. It's a third annual.
It's tradition. Let's get into it. A classic. What is kind of turning into a fun little rivalry in the Eastern Conference are Celtics Heat in the first round. That'll be fun to watch. I'm excited to also see the Knicks play the 76ers. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. Also excited for Timberwolves Suns. That's going to be a good series. And Nuggets Lakers also turning into a little bit of a rivalry out of the Western Conference. So a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
First round. First year without the Golden State Warriors there in what feels like forever. So that's going to be pretty interesting.
Can't pick them this year.
Can't pick the Warriors. I would advise against that. I'm not going to stop you though. So what
are the odds on FanDuel?
Yeah, pretty good, I'm sure. What we're going to do is we're going to pick the top four, basically. Like we're going to pick who we think is going to make it to the conference finals, and then who we think is going to win it all. So do you want to go first, Pop?
I'm happy to go first. So I got Nuggets Thunder and Celtics Bucks in the conference finals.
There you go. I like that. I got Celtics Knicks in the conference finals on the Eastern side, and I think the Celtics do it. I think the Celtics finally get to the championship this year. They get over that hump. And then I got Nuggets and Thunder as well in the Western Conference, and I think it's going to be the Nuggets there again in the finals. And I think we're going to see Boston finally get one this year. I'm putting my foot down. It's time.
Yeah, no, I got Nuggets Boston in the finals as well. It's interesting looking at those four teams. Thunder's the one I know the least about. I couldn't even name a player on there, but it does seem like they've got a stud in Shai Alexander. He's averaging over 30 points per game, so he's been awesome. It's great to see a smaller market team like that do so well. So I'm rooting for them, and they're the 1 seed. Nuggets are the 2nd seed, but I got Nuggets Boston as well, and I think it's a great accomplishment for Boston to make the finals. But I think the Nuggets are going to repeat, similar to Connecticut in the NCAA. It's going to be the year of the repeats, and I think I think the Nuggets just got too much. Jokic is just such a great player with Jamal Murray there. That combo is great.
Yeah,
love Tatum as well, and I think they got something going with Tatum, Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis. But it'll be great. It could be a really good finals. See whether Boston break through or not. But I think it's one of those situations where this team finally breaks through and makes a final, but maybe just doesn't have quite enough to be NBA champions.
Yep.
And I think the Bucks are interesting too, right? I mean, they haven't had the greatest of seasons, but that combination they've got there of Willard and of course Giannis. There's a lot of talent there for sure.
Yeah.
Where they could make a run, but I picked them to go to the conference finals. I don't know how confident I am in that pick. I kind of figure the Knicks always tend to disappoint. Sorry, Knicks fans. So that's why I kind of thought the Bucks have been there before, and they're going to kind of get it together and get there again.
Yeah, I feel you. I think it's going to be an interesting one this year. I don't know. I got a gut feeling, man. It's time for Boston to get one, man.
You went to school there. You got a little bit of a sweet spot for Boston sports.
I actually can't stand the Celtics. The Celtics are not a team I like. I will be rooting for them if they make it to the finals, but generally I'm not a Celtics guy at all. But one thing to note about the Thunder, Pop, you can't name a single player on the team. That's fine. They are the number 1 seed. You know who built the Thunder? That's the guy in the building right now building the Washington Wizards. So just remember that. Just as a very Adam Peters-esque situation.
Rough year for the boys.
Just putting that out there, and the Thunder tanked for a few years too. It's part of the process. It's a rough year, but you know what? It's better than being a play-in team with $2 trillion tied up to Bradley Beal, who's never going to win you a title ever. So everything's trending in the right direction. for all the sports
I'll be
teams in the
watching the
East.
Suns though. I'm interested to see what Brad can do, and of course KD, local guy. I'll be watching. I'm not saying I'm rooting for him,
I
but
think.
it'd be an interesting watch.
So your dark horse pick is the Bucks. Sounds like I was going to ask you, but then you immediately said you like what they can do there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and assume that mine is the Timberwolves. I think what Anthony Edwards has been doing is serious, and I think
they're both number 3 seeds.
So this might be the chance for Anthony Edwards to have his, like, you remember when Kawhi Leonard put himself on the map on the national scale in Toronto that last year and went on the run and won. I think this might be Anthony Edwards' chance to do that. Those who know ball and have been following know what he's been doing this year, but I think this might be his chance.
It's just that they've got to get through the Nuggets, and the Bucks got to get through the Knicks. So that's why I like the Bucks' chances a little bit more.
Oh, it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't gonna be easy. The league is chock full of talent, and I think for the first time in a while, the talent is kind of spread out in a really interesting way. Where you do look at this and you go, all right. I'm not going to put my money down on Zion and the Pelicans, but other than that, I think just about anybody can do it this year. I mean, even Luka with the Mavericks, you see them get hot. Can Paul George put it together over on the Clippers? Like, it's just, you got options, man. It's gonna be interesting this year. I think it'll definitely be a fun time to. This is the time of the year you start to get serious about NBA basketball again because of that damn.
It's like another season.
82 game long regular season. They got to do something about. But what do you say we wrap this thing up, Pop? We got into it today, and we covered everything.
We did.
Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for watching, guys.